All right, guys, well, welcome to our first video for the year. And today we're going to be talking about parallel lines cut by a transversal. So this is the title that you would have in your table of contents and at the top of the page of these notes that you're going to take. Okay? And also remember, when you're doing this video, you can pause it, rewind it, fast forward, whatever you need to do. When you're writing these notes, these are for you. Just make sure that this stuff gets in your notebook somehow. Okay, so we have a pretty good idea of what parallel lines are. They're two lines that are never going to touch. They will never intersect at any time. And so right here, I've got my two parallel lines. So you want to make sure you draw this down in your notebook. I'll roll this in a little closer so y'all can see what I got going on here. Okay, so I've got two parallel lines. I've got M and N. Okay, you can label these anything you wanted to. And this line that's cutting through it, that's what's called our transversal. It's a line that intersects two parallel lines. And we've just labeled that one P, just for simplicity. What you'll notice is I've got these angles numbered here. So when this transversal cuts this parallel lines, you get a whole bunch of different angle pairs where some really cool stuff happens. And so we'll see that in just a second. But for now, I want to make sure you guys can label this diagram because we're going to be referring to this when I move over to the slideshow. You'll see what I'm talking about. So just make sure we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 right here. Feel free to pause this video right here if you need to copy this down. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and roll on over here. I got this thing on the podium, so not the best production-wise, but, it'll do. Let's see. That looks pretty good right there. Okay. Okay, so as we mentioned, parallel lines are two lines that never intersect, and a transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines. So not necessarily, I shouldn't have said parallel lines. Transversal intersects two or more lines. All right, and don't worry about writing these bottom two down because you're going to see the relationships. And it's obvious that many angles are formed when you do that. So just worry about these top two bullets. Feel free to pause right here if you need to. If not, we're going to keep moving on. Okay, don't worry about that. We already talked about this. Okay, so the first pair of angles that we're going to talk about is vertical angles. Now, we hit on this when we were talking about just angle relationships in general earlier. So if vertical angles are angles that are right across from each other. So 1 and 4, for example, are vertical angles. 3 and 2 are vertical angles. 5 and 8, 7 and 6, angles that are literally right across from each other. And it helps a lot of people to highlight and kind of color code these. I understand you may not have those colors available to you. That's fine. Just one thing you want to make sure is that you're writing this out to the side, show that 1 and 4 are vertical angles, 2 and 3 are vertical angles. So as long as you're writing that down, that's fine. And you don't even have to draw this thing down every single time. I would just leave this that we drew at the very beginning of the video and then just say, hey, vertical, these angles. And then the next one, okay, and then you would write down corresponding, and then these angles right here. So corresponding angles, if you'll notice, these are a little bit different. They're ones that they're either on top of the parallel line or they're on the bottom of it, and they stay on the same side. So let's look at 2 and 6, for example. Notice they're both to the right of the transversal, and they're both on top of their lines. All right, 4 and 8, they're both to the right of the transversal, but they're below their parallel lines. Same for 1 and 5. 1 and 5 are left of the transversal, but on top of their parallel lines. 3 and 7 are to the left, but they're on the bottom. So that is corresponding. Here are your angle pairs. If you need to pause the video real quick to write those down, do it. If not, we're going to go ahead and move on. Okay, can't do that. Guess I got to use my mouse. Okay, alternate interior. So in alternate interior angles, the interior means what? Inside of something. We talk about interior decorating, interior design. We're talking about inside the house. Well, the same thing happens here. If you have interior angles, it's everything inside these two lines right here. So we're only looking right in here. So that only leaves us with these 4 angles. So alternate interior, so alternate. So we're not on the same side now. So 3 and 6, they're on two different sides as transversal. That's why they're called alternate. You got one up top to the left and then one on the bottom to the right of the transversal. Same thing with 4 and 5. So my two alternate interiors are 3 and 6 and 4 and 5. Okay, pause there if you need to. If not, we're going to move on to alternate exterior. Okay, now alternate exterior, think about exterior, think about outside. And so now we've got the two angles on the bottom and the two angles on the very top. So we're not looking on the inside right here. But the same deal happens. We've got one that's on the left to the top and the one that's on the right to the bottom. So 1 and 8 are alternate exterior, and 2 and 7 are alternate exterior as well. And those are congruent. They're the same. That's something I haven't been mentioning, but you can rewind the video to see the angles that are congruent and the ones that are not congruent if you need to. Because that's very important, especially when we start moving forward. Those are going to be two very important facts. Are they congruent or are they not congruent? Okay, so that is alternate exterior. That's same side interior. That one's pretty straightforward. It tells you exactly what you need to know. Same side, meaning they're either on the right or the left of the transversal, and they're on the inside. So again, we're just looking right here and looking at the ones that are on the same side. So 6 and 4, for example, is same side interior, and then 3 and 5 is also same side interior. Now these are not congruent. These are not the same measure, but they are supplementary. And remember, supplementary, as we talked about yesterday, means they add up to 180 degrees. So they're not congruent, but they are supplementary. Okay, pause there if you need to. If not, we are moving on. Okay. And now we got same side exterior. So now we're just looking at the outside parts. And basically the same thing happens here. 2 and 8 are same side exterior. 1 and 7 are same side exterior. And they're not congruent, but just like the interior ones, they are supplementary. Okay, and here's just some examples you can look at if you'd like to, if you want to try to put these together. But you definitely don't have to put this in your notebook. So this is our first video. If you need to rewind to go back to visit anything, you need to. That's fine. But anyways, this video will stay in Google Classroom or wherever it ends up that I can put it, where you guys can go back and reference it at any time you need to, where you're studying for a test or anything like that. So that's how these videos will work. Hopefully this works out pretty good for you guys. But that's all I have for you today. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned a lot from it. And I will see you guys tomorrow.